Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Trading Card Lobby, where we talk about working in the TCG industry. Patrick, take it away.
Hello, everyone. So today we have also great guests where I don't want to waste too much time and introduce them. So first, Nadine, aka NissaCosplay, well known for her Shalai cosplay, was very. So you see her face and her cosplays on a few of the Wizards of the Coast trailers, maybe. And secondly, we have Robert, the CEO of Card Market, the biggest platform in Europe to trade, sell, buy cards. And our, I would say, legacy roster. So we have Dan, our judge, Kai, aka Zavatarix, our artist today, I would say, because we're talking about working in the industry, and myself, who is not only one of the founders of TCG-Home, I'm also I have a starting 2011 a card market store, and and we thought, hey, why not bring people together and talking about working industry? Because I think to have it as a hobby is for a lot of people. Yeah, I think it's a daily thing, but there's also a daily business around there. There's many individuals out there, from traders to judges to like Robert's position as a CEO of a platform, Nadina's cosplayer. So there's many options to work in industry, and we want to give you a few insights today. We also have a chat where Dan is also if you have questions, Dan will bring them to this conversation. And what I say every time, that I don't talk too much, I would give I would start with the first question, and that's something that I get before the stream. Someone told me, hey, I saw that NissaCosplay is on a stream. Could you ask her how she managed to work as a professional cosplayer? So what was the first?
Mhm.
So there was a first step
Mhm.
where you got coming from a casual, I would say, sorry if I if I misdirected it, but there was a time where you moved from casual cosplaying to now I made it as a job.
Mhm. Um, eh, Probably a bit more unusual than for other professional cosplayers, because when I got started, I got started. Oh, sorry, I got started with Magic cosplay, and after I made my first one or two cosplays, I just saw that Christine Sprankle was doing her cosplay stuff over in the US, and I thought it was very cool that she would just like go to these events and bring her costumes with her. And I think the next event coming up then was GP Paris in 2015 or 2016. And I just basically messaged General Fireball asking like, "Hey, I have costumes. Do you want me to add?" Or like, I don't remember what I said exactly. Just something in the direction of like, do you want, or like, can we do something if I go to your event, blah blah blah. And they were super excited about it. We're like, yeah, we'll pay for your trains and hotel and stuff like that. And from then on, I met people there from other tournament organizers, which also got me to their events after that. And that kind of got my the magic side of things going, which it was still pretty casual, if you want to call it that, because it wasn't really making me much money, or like, yeah, it was basically to get me to events, and I would get some product probably that I could sell afterwards. But doing that, I also met other industry people that started like noticing me or like getting me to their events and asking me to do creative stuff for them, which kind of got me to what I am doing today. So it was basically, I think some luck is always part of the deal. Of course, you have to put yourself out there. You have to keep making stuff so people see you, but there's always a bit of luck involved, like meeting the right people, or like, yeah, just doing the right things at the right time sometimes. Even like, it's hard to really nail it down to you have to do exactly that and then it will work out, because it's not really a work field where success is guaranteed, or like there's this like specific recipe for success. It's a lot of luck involved. Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
brings me to the topic where I met Robert the first time. So the story I started a little bit earlier. In 2000, I think 17 or 18,
Mm.
I traveled to the card market office in Berlin. So I lived far away from Berlin, and I made an appointment with Matthias, the original. He was the original CEO, right? Or he was one of the founders as well. So I think
He's the co-founder. Yeah, correct.
yeah, and yeah, at that time, I tried to start to work with card market, and I said, "Hey, I have an idea. Let's do this." And Matthias said, "That's a great idea, but we can't do it now." 1 year later, I meet him again, and I said, "Hey, Matthias, I have another idea. What about this?" And he said, "That's also a cool idea, Patrick, but we can't fit it into our product." And this I repeated, I think, nearly every year. And then there was a time where Robert was the new CEO, and then we also had a product with TCG-Home. And I said, "Hey, Robert, what about sitting together on the table? I have an idea, and I have a few other people that confirm that my idea is possible."
Just keep poking them
Yeah. So I think
till they
this
give
will
in.
also, yeah, that's also what Nadine said. I think consistency is important,
Mm.
but don't stress people. Just asking them 1 time a year is for
Mm.
some people stressful. But
Mhm.
if you're asking every day or every week,
Mhm.
I think that don't give you that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that value to the market, and working out an idea, I think also. But
Mhm.
that brings me over to Robert. How do you start and ending up? I wouldn't say ending up in a negative way, but hey, you reached the level of the CEO of Card Market. How was your way to that?
Yeah. One thing though, I really like your persistence, but I would say, of course, not to encourage our users to keep asking if we will create an app, because I know we see the comments. It is something we always talk about, but here it's not like now sending me every day an email with, "Are we going to create an app?" Then that's not going to help the process. Anyways, that's a little joke. Yeah, no, I started in car market in 2017. Back then, I was a graphic designer. It was kind of I'm employee number 14 at Card Market. We are just all sitting in an office, kind of doing our thing, becoming more and more serious at marketing, basically, being more active on social media, having a Twitter page, doing a bit with the Card Market series, etc., etc. And basically, since then, we've organically grown to the company that we are now, which is 80 people. And at a certain point, the founders also decided to take a step back in the company. And at that point, they offered me the position together with some of the other more senior people that work at Card Market. And it was a huge honor and a privilege, and also a challenge to take on this role. And yeah, I'm incredibly happy. And you see how these things kind of go. And it feels like in such a short time, such a big leap. But like I said, I'm incredibly grateful and also proud of the company that I work for.
Okay. So you said you started as a graphic designer. What was the level to say for you? Hey, I think it's an involvement from a couple people, but you should be very successful with your work, and also I think outside of your work that brings you to give you the qualifying to be a CEO, and you're doing very well. So I think there was parts of card market where people are asking for involvement, and things happened, and also partnerships happened, like with TCG-Home, and we're super happy with that. But what was the day you realized, hey, now I'm the CEO of card market? Was there how was that day?
I can say that I lost a lot of sleep the first weeks because it was all of a sudden this huge responsibility that I had to carry. Then again, I know, and I think that's also something that you see in other leadership positions. You really have to trust the people that you work with and have a very like a great team around you. And I feel that this is the case at Card Market. Like, yes, I'm the CEO, which technically makes me the final responsible person for everything, but I feel that I can really trust the people that I work with, and they are incredibly skilled, knowledgeable, enthusiastic, and passionate about the product. And this is really important also. So it's kind of also a teamwork here. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a great privilege. There's not really like a handbook of, okay, now I'm CEO, what do I do? It is something that you are now the driving force behind the company. You have to come up with ideas, new structures, and kind of give your own twist to what you think could improve the company. And that's kind of what I did for my passion, also for the product. I think that is something that speaks for itself. As also a TCG collector and Magic player, used to play Yu-Gi-Oh before I got into Magic, and that's also how I ended up at Card Market to begin with.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
and
usually how these things go, right? We like most of us come from the game first and then get into a professional relationship with the industry. And there's very few people in that I've met that came from a like professional background first and then only got into contact with these games or with the TCG industry. And
Yeah, I can.
even people in very high positions like yourself, I've met who are just like passionate gamers first.
That's also one thing that I really like about working in this industry. Also now getting to talk to all of you who also, if I name a few Magic cards, or earlier we were talking a bit about the Legacy deck that you were playing, there's always this kind of common interest in this kind of thing that all binds us together. And you definitely see this at Card Market too. The majority of our employees are also users of the product and also avid Magic players or Pokemon players or Lorcana players. And this is really great. It's quite rare that you see companies where people are also so excited about the product that they use.
Like, do you also get
yeah,
to play a lot of Magic, like in your free time, or is it like is it
I
less than
guess it won't.
2%?
I won't. It won't surprise you to say that since I got into this position, I'm actually playing less Magic than I used to. Unfortunately, nevertheless, we do have a lot of kind of like incentives to play trading card games at the company. We organize draft nights. We have a commander night. Whenever there's a new set coming out, we buy some boxes and we organize kind of like a pre-release. So we do think it's really important for also the people that even though now it's your job, that you still stay in touch with everything that's going on in the industry.
That's really cool.
Yeah, but I definitely feel you there in terms of like playing less once you start working on it. Like, especially for me, when I became a judge, I basically took a turn that a lot of judges took, which is like whenever I would have a chance to play Magic, I would end up judging instead. So because now I go to FNM to judge, I go to pre-release to judge, I go to MagicCon or GPs back in the day to judge, and basically once you have some time off, you're like, I've been thinking about Magic for this many hours today already. I just want to turn my brain off and do something else.
I think also that is a curious involvement that I realized a couple of years ago, where I moved from an active player to someone who enjoys more to work as, for example, a shop owner. So I was in a lot of events where I'm buying and selling cards. I have a very successful card market store with Nerdies, over 26K sales over the last years. And I realized that I love to find new solutions and working around to make my work more efficient, starting with a label printer and now just having a full structured warehouse system where I can find every card between in seconds. It doesn't matter where it is. So, and this is something I realized also from other people. So I think the only one in this round, what I know is, who plays a lot of Magic, depends also side by side with his work, is Kai, because I'm every time super surprised when I see that Kai, who's doing a lot of work with his art, so publishing his own tokens. I think Kai, you can say a little bit more about that after I finish. So, and side by side, he organized also events. So he organized a few events in Berlin, and also playing commander groups, traveling a lot for the game, and then have a booth. Kai, what is your secret successor to play Magic and working side by side with
I mean,
your art?
yeah, I mean the secret is to not sleep mostly. Yeah, I got a little bit of an unusual path, I think. I've been playing Magic for 21 years now, or 22 maybe at this point. No breaks, non-stop, just like full on. And I also yeah, and like I spent the last 10 years in Tokyo, Japan, where I worked at one of the bigger LGS, like was called Tokyo MTG. It was one of the most international stores in Tokyo. We had a lot of cool people, you know,
That's
who
so
came over. yeah, from like Australia and from the States. There was like this big military base, American military base. Like also all the Americans came over for like
Crazy.
pre-release events, and yeah, like we had like bilingual pre-release events, and it was a lot of fun working there. And I was, yeah, and I was the graphic designer, and I was also in charge for shippings in that store, and it was really enjoyable, right? Like I got to play a lot of Magic, played a bunch in my free time, and then did all this like packaging and whatnot. And like just recently, and also I painted. I've always been on the painting side of things, but only my free time. And like just recently, I moved to Germany and I started to like paint more and print my new tokens, and also started to go to events like, I don't know, Eternal Weekend and a couple of other events where I had my booth. But the twist is that since I'm not like the I don't know, like the most basic artist, because I'm also like a player and do all the other things, I started to make a booth where people can also directly challenge me in Magic at my booth. They can literally play a 1v1 at my booth, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, we stream it, you know, it's a lot of fun. People seem to enjoy it between like tournament rounds when they have like 10, 15, 20 minutes left, you know, and it's really nice. Also backed up by my streams on Magic, where I stream like 2-3 times per week, and you know it really builds like a nice community of people, and you get to see them in real life at events. And yeah, so that's, you know, like you do a bunch of things, right? But also a lot of stuff happens in the background where, like, especially on weekdays, like I spend a lot of time like packaging orders. And that's, you know, it's probably like the same task that Patrick is doing mainly. But I also add like a handwritten letter to every order, and you know, like stupid shit like that. That's probably like why I don't sleep, because I do like too many like too many cute things. But yeah.
I mean, the many cute things are also what make people fall in love with your with your entire thing that you do, right? If you do just like the very basics, the same as everyone else, that's not what makes you successful.
Yeah.
Also, I hope you don't lose too much sleep over it. Take care.
Yeah. Also, a PS, I got a terrible handwriting, so you know, you know what's up, right?
yeah. I received a letter from Kai, and I thought, hey, this is Japanese. No, it was German, but
it's
hey.
something in between. Yeah, definitely.
I saw in the chat that there was one question about how to become professional in this industry. And what you say, or what we already said, is I think consistency, just trying things that works for you. I think a great enter into the market is starting your, for example, a card market store. If you have someone around you and said, hey, I would buy cards. And I think also very important is, if you're starting a store, to be I would say trusty, first level. Secondly, communicate that you have to make success, and that means you can't buy a card for the same price that you're doing it now as a job. So, and I think then people understand, hey, I can give you a little bit less than the regular card market price, but then you can sell it a little bit higher on card market. But mostly important, I think there's something that Robert agrees with me. If you're starting to do a professional business, don't forget to announce it also to make it professional. And how was it say in English? There's this Gewerbeschein in your agreement that you just officially can buy and sell stuff. So don't do it like
don't
be
illegal
shady.
things.
Yeah, absolutely. And be transparent is, I think, very important, and to give an understanding, hey, I put work into this. That's why I have to, I can't pay less. And I think if you go into an event and people realize, if you go in on, for example, on a Magic Con and there's a couple of booths, nobody there gives you the exact price for a card or more than that. I know there is sometimes where a card is very hot and people needs them, but they wouldn't sell it for the same price. There's always a way to go to say, hey, I have to make profit with this card, or I have or what Nadine I think do as well is if you start crafting something, or like what Kai is doing. Hey, I create art. So it's like if you bring a product to a market. So for example, I saw that Kai's product, so Kai's tokens, you can buy them on Card Market. Get in touch with the different companies. So and don't communicate before you have something ready. I think that is also very important. There's a lot of people. Hey, I'm doing this, and this. Where you started? I start tomorrow. But that's not the way to go. And I think also from a completely other perspective. So Dan, you as a judge, to make a hard cut and coming later back because I'm talking too much. Everyone knows that. Bring that topic back, that your kind of a job in this industry is completely different, I would say, to us four. So it's similar in some points, but I think that you're doing a service. So it's like that you just going to an event and helping out as a judge. How has this happened that you getting money for that, and what was the road to that?
Well, I mean, I can kind of build a little segue with something that you said earlier here, which is that as a professional seller, you need to look out for yourself and need to know that sometimes you need to make a profit on a card, and full well knowing that maybe they can go elsewhere and buy the card cheaper, but you're doing it as your job, right? And that's kind of true for all of us. Know your worth. If you know what you're doing, you know what you're good at, don't give it away. Don't do it for free. Um, and however, as a judge, I have to say there is I'm probably within the lucky top maybe 5 or 10% of Magic judges in the world who can like make significant money with these kind of events, because there aren't a ton of events, and there are Magic cons, but there are 4 of those every year that have like 200 judges or whatever. But most of the other events are way smaller staff size. And also, since they don't need to pull judges from all over the world, you you have a way smaller amount of money that you can expect from those, right? So um, basically, what I'm trying to say is what I'm doing as a job is a very unlikely thing for people to get, and getting here was just like a combination of factors. Like Nadine said earlier, luck plays a big role. Um, for when I started looking at these larger events, some people started working at Grand Prix back in the day as a level 1 judge, but most of them got into it like as a level 2. I made my level 2 and then and started applying to Grand Prix for a year and didn't go to a single one of them because I never got the chance. I never got accepted. And only after 1 year I got my chance at a first GP, and that was kind of my foot in the door. And then I really tried to like show what I'm capable of. And I really know that I traveled to some events that I would absolutely not travel to today. I lost money there. I had like 10-hour bus rides that were scheduled to be 4 hours and stuff like that. Um, don't do that to yourself.
That sounds similar to how I got started, because I feel like at the start, it's for quite some time. I think mostly or almost always will be more of a passion commitment than it
Oh
is a
yeah.
job. It will feel like a side job or something because you like kind of sacrifice your free time doing it, right?
Mhm.
And you don't at the start you don't really make money with it, and it will start off really just you being okay. I really want to do this because this is something I'm passionate about, or like
Yeah.
I just want to get out there and do that because it seems rad, right? But at
Yeah,
some point,
totally.
you might get the chance to turn it into something that actually makes you money.
Yeah, and I think it's like you said, for especially for what you were doing with cosplay, and also I think what Kai the route that Kai took with his art is kind of, it's a lot of it is about endurance. Like how long can you do it as a passion project before you lose hope? basically.
Oh, like
Yeah.
yeah, like how often can you
or
poke people?
before you get lucky. Yeah. But like
Um,
sometimes you do get lucky, and then you get the chance to turn it around and do it for your job.
I think this is a perspective from our sides about self-employment. I think that so Dan, Nadine, Kai, and I started, or at the moment, doing a lot on a leadership position for their own business as well. And Robert and I also working directly to a company as not only as self-employed, so we're working in that companies. And I think beside to have luck, so you need luck every time in life to for example, if you sending card market, hey, I want to work with you, how can I do that? So, and I think that is also a question that a lot of people asking. So there's a job page on Card Market, and I think
You know,
cold reach out is also
luck,
something.
right?
It sounds
Sorry?
like you need app developers.
Luck is where preparation meets
Sorry.
opportunity. There's no luck.
Yeah, yeah. So I think also to be creative, how you manage to show yourself what you can give someone as value. Beside, it doesn't matter if you're self-employed or you're working for a company, showing what you can do, and don't what Dan said, underprice yourself, because I think it's very important. Good work has to be paid good. So this is something. There was, I think nearly every one of us had that time in life where we worked for too less and too many hours, but in the end we were, I would say, successful with that what we're doing. So we have that luxury to work in that companies or in that project we're doing. And but Robert, what would you say if someone is, for example, 18, 19 years old and wants to work for Cartman? What's the best way to have a first step to get in touch with Card Market as a company?
That's a very good question. First, I would like to say a bit more about the previous topic about working in the industry in general. And I think that's something that maybe Nadine and Kai and also Dan can relate to. It's that like you're turning your hobby into your profession. And the thing about a hobby is that you kind of like have stages where you're really into it and stages where you're not so much into it. And there's a really important realization that once you make it your job, you have to be 100% always in it. Oh, you don't like the specific set that came out, or you don't really like this Pokemon thing that's going on currently. That's not an excuse anymore. Like now you have to care and you always have to be on. And I think this is something that a lot of people maybe don't realize initially. Like when I look back at myself, as a teenager, I liked to play video games, so naturally I wanted to become a video game developer. Only then I learned, okay, but liking video games and working for a video game company it's not the same. And to that extent, it's the same in the trading card industry. Like, it's also really important to realize that it's no longer a hobby right now. Yes, you can still have it as a hobby, but even when you don't want it as a hobby, it's still part of your life and every day. So I guess that's relatable for you as well. And yeah, for Card Market, of course, like you said, it's always good to check the job page to kind of know what your skill sets are, write a good application letter, and get in touch with us. Yeah.
But
Also, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say a little back to the topic that Robert mentioned about when you do it as a hobby, you do it because you're passionate about it. When you turn it into a profession, you don't always get to be profession, or like you don't always get to be passionate about it. And I think if you want to turn your hobby into a profession, what you really need to think about is if you take the passion away, or like passion of the material you're like involved in, if you take that passion away, is that still something you want to do, or like you want to spend a lot of time doing, or will that just take like all the fun out of it for you and kind of ruin it for you? Which I think it's a really important decision to make, because I think a lot of people that try to turn their hobbies into profession end up really unhappy because they like it can kind of ruin the whole thing for them, right? But often, and then I know a lot of people that do it that way still have a lot of fun creating things involved with, for example, Magic in this instance, that are like on a professional level, while really having to do it, not only getting to be like passionate about it. So I think it goes both ways. It's a difficult point to regard before getting into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was also something that I realized only a few years into like being involved professionally with Magic, is that I a- I was used to having Magic around me all day in my free time and thinking about Magic all the time. And once Magic became my job, I didn't want to be doing that anymore because I would feel like I'm always at work.
Mm.
And only once I started to get into other hobbies and find other things to spend my free time on, I would start enjoying both parts of it more. And because then work time would be like, hey, now I get to engage with Magic, this cool thing that I've been doing for over 20 years. And then free time would also be like, hey, now I have time to enjoy these other things that are not work. And so that is also a good way to balance things out and have something that complements you if you can't live on doing only one thing all the time.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. Like if I can tell a little bit of how it went in Tokyo MTG, because it was really interesting, that store in particular, because we had like about 50% Japanese employees, and then the other half was like a mix of like Europeans and Americans and whatnot. And a lot of the employees came from like different types of, like, some of them were like competitive players, some of them were like casual players, or some of them were only collectors. They had like this collector binder, and that was literally it. But what happened the most was everyone got the daily dose of Magic basically at the job, right, for about like 8 hours or something. And then most of the employees would do something completely different after work, because they're already engaged with the game during their work time, and then they went out and played tennis or something, or like, I don't know, did something else, like went to the gym, stuff like that. And that was also like the same for me. Partially at the beginning, it was kind of absurd though, because I also spent my whole free time playing Magic in addition to all the work, and it was like literally like Magic and sleep only. But I don't know. Like, you also have like a really cool conversation at work. Like we used to talk about like Magic all the time, right? Like there were like a couple of employees like packaging orders. Like some of them were picking cards, and other ones were at the register, prepping stuff and whatnot. And like while all this was happening, we all had like, it was mostly ideas about new deck ideas and brews, and like what could work, what was terrible, or like what happened at the Pro Tour last weekend. And do you think that card is gonna spike in price or go down or whatever? Like, stuff like that was like was our usual talk and topics. So it was really like a nice environment, and didn't really feel like work at all. And even now, like, now I'm self-employed, and like whenever I paint or prep orders or prep my stream or whatever, I always listen to some sort of Magic podcast or like watch some videos in the back. I don't pay full attention, but it's always here, running in the back. So I think you guys can probably relate to this, maybe to an extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think one of the major rules that I learned when I was younger was, if you're turning your hobby into a job, you lost your hobby. There was something that I would say the older generation told me. So there was a couple of if it was my aunt or my mother, they told me, if you're turning something that you love into a job, you have to be sure that you don't want to destroy your hobby, or you don't want to do. So there's some times in life where you have a bad phase in work that you say, hey, this stressed me, this is something that brings me down, I don't like it to play, for example, Magic anymore. I think that is very important for everybody to understand. If you just turning your hobby into a job, that you don't overwork yourself at the beginning, or at any time. Don't overwork you anytime. So that is important, because I think if you just going on a period that you love or have an excitement for the hobby, and meanwhile you, for example, starting with, you have your regular job, and then at your free time you said, hey, I have 5 hours a week to work on something for the TCG industry, like Nadine do with Cosplay, or just kind of the tokens. Then as a judge, to realize if you do it as a full-time job means that you just have a full-time involvement into your hobby. And I would say, like what Robert said with the in the earlier days to play video games and going into the video game industry. I have it very similar because I worked for one of the biggest gaming companies in Germany before I moved to TCG. And at that time, I enjoyed more Magic the Gathering. Now, I'm just going back to and said, hey, I'm super happy when the next Elden Ring game came out, or the DLC in this case, because I love to play that game. And for that, I am doing 3 days of vacation because I love that game. And it is something that brings me outside of my job. And to bring this up, it's super important that you don't destroy your hobby and destroying your new job, starting slowly but consistent. I think that is very important to understand. If you're just running too fast, it is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And don't lose your excitement for something. I think that is super important because at that time you lost your excitement for your hobby. You are not a true person who can sell or represent what you're doing, because if you don't have the passion to represent it, nobody wants, or just there's a lot of people going away and said, hey, I don't have the feeling that you like what you do.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
as
all
we
about
said
finding that
before,
balance, right? Sorry, Dan.
Yeah.
You're good. As we said before, it's about endurance, right?
Yeah.
And so now another hard cut to a different topic that's been spinning around my mind for the last 10 minutes or so. The four of us, except Robert, are all very much at events, right? Judging only happens at events. Cosplay, pretty much similarly. Artist booths only at those events. And Patrick, I don't know how many hours you've spent at a store booth at events. Your perspective, Robert, as a CEO of Card Market, is kind of different. Do these large events factor into your work experience at all? Because they're definitely a very much defining factor for us. So it's curious for me to see a part of the industry that is not maybe so much affected by that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, back in the day, we organized the Card Market Series, of course. So we were doing our own events. And when we were still organizing those, I was also at every event. And I can relate to having to spend a lot of hours there with the organization, cleaning up afterwards, all those things involved. Nowadays, it's definitely a lot less. But I do think it's really important for us to also somehow be represented at events. We at Card Market, of course, support a lot of local events now that we don't do the Card Market Series anymore. And we will always try to be at every Magic Con in Europe as a company and just try to talk to our users, our sellers, our community. Of course, as you know, we now have this YouTube channel as well, where our creators are also there to interact. And I think it's really important for everyone at Card Market to not lose touch of that sense of community, because the event is the one place where the whole community meets. Like the entire spectrum of what the TCG community is going to be at this one place, and that's always a unique opportunity to learn and experience so much.
Yeah, that's really exciting, and also a kind of like encouraging perspective for me, because even someone who is like you could think is maybe removed from all of that, since like the selling and back and forth, the trading aspect on Card Market, it probably happens regardless of events, but getting that connection to the community is really important, and I love to see everyone there. I remember the Card Market series well. I got my first rounds as a lowly level 1 judge doing big events there before I did GPs, so that was a great time.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. And but also like the shift to local events is something that we see, or to generally more casual and less competitive tournaments, is something that we see in the big scene as well, right? Is that something that that influences how all of you interact with the evolving events landscape?
from our side, it's definitely something that obviously the pandemic changed the whole game for this. This is one of the major reasons why the Card Market Series kind of like evolved into now what we're doing with these local events. I think on a smaller scale, this happened to a lot of players as well. There are no events, but we still want to play. How do we play? Of course, we have these online solutions like Spell Table and similar platforms. But once we are finally able to see your friends again, we are so excited to just sit and just play a few games. It doesn't matter what game. But that was, of course, a much more casual setting. And you see that maybe in that sense, people are now going more on these casual, lower, like competitive stake, I want to say. Maybe that's not the correct term, but definitely in your local game store and just try and meet people there. And yeah, and why not then have one or two really, really big events like the MagicCon, for instance, for Magic Gathering, or the YCS for Yu-Gi-Oh, where the game organizer or publisher brings out all the whistles and bells and brings everyone together. And the rest of the time, we just want to play casually, locally with our friends. At least that's what I feel is the majority of the community. Of course, if you're a competitive player, there's different ways that you need to do. I can't really speak for that myself as I'm more of a casual player, but I think you have a lot of options then online, for instance, with Magic Arena.
What you said about the pandemic changed a lot of things. I think that the TCG community makes a huge evolvement from physical, well, mostly physical, to a split of physical and digital. And also what I know I think it was 6 or 7 months after the pandemic started, that a lot of former bigger store and sellers come to me and said, hey, I want to quit. I want to sell my whole stuff. I'm done. I don't think anymore to work with this cards. I want to go to another job, or I want to leave, or especially some of them said, hey, I'm leaving Magic the Gathering and now I'm starting with Yu-Gi-Oh because the past Yu-Gi-Oh was my thing. Or new games came out. A few moved also, now it's after the pandemic, but from Magic to Lorcana. And I think that involvement is also a big thing that if you, and now that's for the longer people who might watch this video on YouTube later, or maybe are now in the Twitch stream, if you're working in the industry, it doesn't mean that you have to stuck in that industry. It means that you can also evolve your job as well. So it means, hey, for example, if you judged a couple of years and said, hey, now I want to open a card market store, why not? If you're just leaving card market and said, hey, I'm just done with selling and buying cards, maybe you could help out on the event. Or, hey, I think it is super important for everyone to understand that you don't stuck in any, you don't have to be staying at that point where you are if you're not comfortable with it. You just can go on and say, for example, I met Nadine first time in person, and she doesn't wear a Magic cosplay. It was Elden Ring cosplay, and she also moderated an Elden Ring cosplay contest at Gamescom. As well, so what Kai said before, hey, I worked at a TCG store in Tokyo. Now he is an artist in Berlin. So there's a movement in it. And I think that the most important thing, I also made a couple of involvement in that case, because I opened Nerdies, and I had a local store, I closed local store, then I reopened Nerdies, then I closed it again because of the start of TCG Vault and now TCG-Home. Now I reopened with Nerdies again. So you can pause something. If you, what I said before, if you don't feeling well anymore, or you want to have an involvement, just go on and do something else. And if you love TCGs, stay in TCG, but you can also do other things inside of that. And I also would say that if you just quitting something, don't go away and don't say it. I would also communicate it with your community, with your people around you, and maybe there are new options for doing new things inside of the industry. That's what we said at the beginning about networking. Networking, I think, is super important. And try new things and reduce something could also be a way forward. So I heard also, Nadine, that you maybe just going forward to do other things in the cosplay universe. Can you give an example about that?
Yeah, I basically just go where an opportunity presents itself, but a lot of those opportunities certainly stemmed from my time with Magic, I would say, because before the pandemic, I would go to, I was at most of the European GPs, at least. I was at some of the American GPs. Whereas now after the pandemic, I do the most work I do is like for events where I work more like behind the scenes. I do prop commissions, some costume commissions, or also in general some creative work on some events that involves planning and stuff, which is super interesting. I work with a German group called Kaleidosphere. They get a lot of very interesting industry work, and they're just lovely people to work with. Just shout out to them. Yeah, it's just where the opportunity presents itself. I've helped Kaleidosphere with working on Pokemon regionals and some work with Bethesda as well. And yeah, there's some more very cool things in the pipeline right now that I can't talk about. But it's gonna be very exciting. Yeah, it's just I like the diversity too. Yeah, I do miss the pre-pandemic Magic format though, of just lots of events, lots of playing Magic. Because that's
Yeah.
kind of what the fun of it about it was. Because some of you also said that you don't really get a lot of time playing Magic while working in Magic. Whereas for me, it was mostly like not playing a lot before an event, but at an event I would get to wear what I made and then just like chain playing Magic all weekend, which I really missed. It was so cool. I would just like show up in costume in the morning, play with people all day, and then repeat that for day 2 and day 3.
Yeah, I definitely have fond memories of like meeting Nadine at an event like every other month or every month, and then enroll every month, seeing new people have the experience of checking who you're playing against in this event, and oh, I'm playing against Liliana of the Veil. And then you sit down, and then actual Liliana of the Veil sits down to play against you. That was so cool.
It was a fun little gimmick that I started somewhere down the point where I would just ask the kind people at side event registration, or sometimes even the main event, to put in the name of the character I was cosplaying against to bamboozle some people, because they would just be like, no, that's not really you. How about what's your name? And then I would say, well, yeah, it's Lana Vest. And then we're like, nah, that's not true. That's what it said on there.
Does the cosplay also apply to the deck? Do you then play like a deck themed around what you're cosplaying as, or?
Hard to say. I most of the events I played were, or when I played side events, basically were limited, like either side or draft or either draft or sealed. I wanted to say. With the decks I played, I mostly just kind of played what was good at the time, and I wasn't worried too much about whether my character was in the deck. It was cool when it was, but I usually trying to play what was good. I like to
Oh, look at that. It's Nissa out UW control. Yeah, great.
There was one time at GP London, I don't remember what year it was. I was cosplaying as Watley, and we had these spell slinging sessions where people could come up to invited guests and like play Magic against them for fun. And I decided to bring a Lantern Control modern deck that I liked.
No. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Some people remind me of that, like even like today, like years after the fact, because they remember that at least.
I think that was that might have been 2018 where they did the War of the Spark pre-release, because there was a Huatli in that set.
That's possible, yeah. I think I made Watley in 2017 after HasCon, but I wore her for so many times. Like it's very likely that I wore her in 2018 at some point.
Yeah.
So we're close to an hour, but I don't want to cut it now. But I want to bring another topic on this. So I asked, or I told a couple of times, or we all talked about a couple of times about involvement. Is there one period, if you're looking back from the start to today, where I would say this was my best time? It doesn't mean that your actual time is not good, but is there one period like what Magic players said about a set? Hey, this set was great because I love to play at Odyssey, but I realized today playing Magic is also cool. But is there? So I would start with Robert. Is there any time in the past where you say this was a great time for me to work with, for example, as a graphic designer to make something new, or is there a period of time where you remember often said, hey, that was also a very great time for me, and why?
I mean, Sure. Looking back at my journey at Card Market, there were a lot of great moments. Like you said, it's hard to pin down one. But of course, starting as just a Magic player and previously a Yu-Gi-Oh player, it was a really great opportunity to finally also meet people from the community or artists or cosplayers and be like, wow, I've always like seen your content or admired what you do, and now actually I got to meet you in person and talk to you about your work or what it's doing, even what we're doing right now. And these are things that also really like made me like what I do so much. It comes again back to this: it's a whole community thing, right? It's not just one part. I'm just one part in it, and everyone here is also a part in it. And it's so great to like when those parts overlap and you get to enjoy each other's conversations.
Yeah, what would you say about meeting someone? So last year at MagicCon Barcelona, I first met John Avon, what was an absolutely amazing point for me because I started Magic the Gathering because of the the invasion and the 7th edition forest that's painted by John Avon. And it was for me a magic moment because I said, hey, I'm feeling now I'm 10 years younger now, and this was a great moment for me. And he said also, you're so handsome guy. I don't preserve it. So meeting your, I would say, wouldn't say meeting your heroes. It's more like meeting someone that you know and carries you maybe through the hobby over years was also a great experience, I think, for every one of us. But I don't want to block this conversation we had. Kai, what was your magic moment? What would you say that what was your time back then there where you said, hey, I remember, for example, the promo that Magic made with you with the GP in, was it Tokyo?
I think so, yeah.
Where you were the person on the camera who did, this is Kai from Tokyo, and
yeah, I think it all started right when I moved to Japan. Like before that, I was a casual and tournament player, like most Magic players, right? And then I moved to Tokyo in 2015, and 2 months after I moved there was the first Legacy Grand Prix, and I probably like I got crazy lucky and I top 8'd that GP out of nowhere basically. And back then it was really uncommon for non-Japanese to go to Japanese GPs because it's like, it's a group of islands, right? And so we had like the top 8 deck list of people, and it was like 7 Japanese names, and then it was me with like a German name in the middle between my Japanese names basically. And everyone was kind of curious, like, who is this Kai dude, right? But I also had my Tokyo MTG shirt on. I just started out. I was probably like only like sorting cards or some like some basic stuff back then. But the store Tokyo MTG also got a lot of attention because of my result, and also my name just popped up in literally all the articles in through Japan, because again, as I said, it was really unusual in Japan for someone foreign to do well in an event, right? And that kind of made it so that I got my name out there as a player, but it also carried me like through the time, like Wizards of the Coast and messaged Tokyo MTG and like wanted me to do like a preview card, every now and then. And they did this video series called Enter the Battlefield, where I got to be basically like the sort of like main protagonist in that movie and talk about Magic in Japan, And it also like led into my whole art career and streaming career as well, because my name in the Magic community has been somewhat out there this whole time. And even though I changed gears entirely, it's still the same. It's still the same market, right? It's the same people still, and yeah, I don't know. It was really natural. I didn't force anything, and a lot of people still recognize me as the dude who played Storm at that particular GP.
That's what I want to say. So I remember every time I see a Lion's Eye Diamond, I have to remember your result on the GP back then.
It still happens.
And it's super crazy because you are, for me, so there, if I would say, is there a Storm player outside there? I would say, yeah, Kai. And I know that you didn't play Storm for a while, but for me, you will every time be that Storm player, because I think that we met only a couple months before that result at Tokyo MTG. It was was very, very close to that, and then I realized, hey, great, Kai made success, and I was super happy for you because I know you hate it. I know that guy. You know?
It's so funny, like, cause like also like one of my most popular tokens is actually the storm the storm token I painted. I think the painting is somewhere in the back, and
Oh, that's
like
cool.
people have like people have like they ultimately they want to tell stories, right? Like especially at events, they go back home and then they tell all the friends, like I met this cosplayer at this event, and this and that happened, and she had like this crazy limited deck with like bunch of Lilianas in or whatever, or like, oh, I met Kai, at his booth, and I've only known him from like past events or whatever, but I got to finally talk to him, stuff like that, like everyone wants to share their stories, and through events and special happenings and things like that.
Yeah.
I would give it over to Nadine. What was your magic moment in the whole period of time where you starting from doing small cosplays to now helping people to bring their cosplays to events?
It was just two. I have two answers. Two entries. The first one is my personal or like high in Magic itself, and the other one is just an event that really helped me do what I do today, which is kind of outside of Magic. And the first one is that I got to represent a part of Magic at HasCon 2017. Where I was a Johnny, or like, yeah, they had a cosplayer representing every color of the color pie of Magic there, and I got to be a Johnny, which was really cool. And yeah, we all got to take pictures with Stan Lee there, and it was just kind of cool to like get to represent this game at like a convention or yeah, an event where it's not just all about Magic, right? Which yeah, I was really proud of to be there. And yeah, it was just a cool event. I met so many cool people that I still know and talk to today. And yeah. And the other one is actually when I got to work with Red Bull on their Magic events, Red Bull Untapped. I think the first one I was part of, I had a double event on a weekend. On Saturday I was in Florence, and on Sunday I was in Brussels, which was really fun because
Oh wow.
I cosplayed at both events. So I traveled to Florence on a Friday evening, and Saturday I was cosplaying in Florence. On Sunday morning, I took the first flight available to Brussels, trained over to the convention center, and got dressed up again and cosplayed at the second part of the event there.
Talk
And
about
part
losing
of
sleep.
oh, who needs sleep? It's fine.
Yeah.
Who needs sleep when there's magic? Yeah, no, and the reason why this was such an important time or event for me is because I got in contact with Red Bull through that, and they have basically, I've been working with them ever since that on a variety of events, both just like prop or costume commissions, as well as also like just creative planning stuff, which, yeah, it's been really cool working with them, and I'm just glad that I got the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, then I would give it over to Dan. What was your magic moment or your magic moment?
Well, I also have two answers. One of them is kind of the same as the first answer that Nadine gave, which is like the high phase of tournament Magic, probably just before the pandemic, when we had an event to go to every month in Europe, which was yeah, I don't know if it's ever coming back, but I will always cherish that time. And the other, quite honestly, is right now. I get to judge the Magic Pro Tour for the first time next month. I'm a program lead of the new international judge program, and I think I have a lot more to do in Magic, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that would bring me to normally to the final question that you just already started. What you're working at the moment on? But yeah, so everybody knows that I have a couple of things to say, but I only want to reduce it to two things. I think my magic moment was the time I firstly opened my store. So my physical store, where so many people said, don't do it. You will crash. Wouldn't work. There will nobody come in. And the first Friday night, yeah, and the first Friday Night Magic, I had full house. I made tables for 50 people. People said to me, "It's super crazy. You don't have a." Yeah, we're near. It was in the southwestern part of Germany, near of Ramstein Air Base, and they said there will be 5 to 10 people maybe coming to your event, and it was full house. 50 people playing, starting from 7, and we played early Saturday morning, and it was super crazy for me because everybody enjoyed so much. That store was not so. It was not the end state of the store about organizing everything, but it was my first vision of the store and the planning of 1 year to bring that to life. And the other magic moment, that sounds weird, was the closing of the store, because to go on, but it was super important for me to say, hey, this chapter ended, and people, there was nearly everyone who said, we understand why you close, but we will miss something. And until today, people told me, hey, playing at your store was one of my favorite times playing Magic. And me and my brother, who worked there as well, and also I involved him to TCG-Home for a couple of projects. He's not anymore in the TCG industry, but he said, hey, coming together and enjoying the event. So I think Nadine met him in Barcelona as well, was that guy that was taller than me. My younger brother is taller than me. But yeah, for me, it's like that. It was like a family business, and I will never forget that time. And there was no negative situations, and everybody enjoys to play at my store. And that was, I think, the most thing for me. And that's why I said now I have to evolve and starting something new that brings now to the point where I can say that we with TCG-Home made a collaboration with Card Market. We starting this format, the trading card lobby. This is at the moment what we're working on to evolve the market again with a few things, with partnerships with this podcast or this streamcast format, and bring more and more people together. And this is what I'm super happy about, because I started ringing the bell at Card Market store in 2016, never stopped. And now we're sitting together in one stream, and I'm super proud and happy of that. Yeah, and I want to bring this up to the end. So I would give everyone a few final words. I'm done with my words. But I want to give everyone just like where you can find, so where we can find you, and what you're working on, what your next step in your life, maybe about the business, what you would do next. Nadine, would you start with that?
It's a boring start probably because I can't talk about what I do next. But you can probably find out about it at some point this year on my socials, which is at NissaCosplay on Instagram and Twitter.
As well, would you do traveling to the con? You said that you will be in Amsterdam as a private person, but is there other events where you attended, like Gamescom or something like that?
Gamescom maybe. It's that's unsure yet. But yeah, all the other things I'm working on right now, I can't say. Sorry.
We will reach out.
Yeah, big mystery.
Working through
nice.
NDA hell.
Yes.
Yeah, and we will share it also over TCG-Home. What's your next steps? And yeah, so Robert, what are you working on at the moment, or what's your next steps with Card Market, and anything you already can tell, or is there also NDAs? What we love to say, this NDA things.
Right.
Beep and
Yeah, there's
beep.
there's always a lot going on behind the scenes at Card Market. I can't share too much either, but of course, Card Market isn't going anywhere. We have big plans. It's a constantly evolving product, and we intend on keeping to do that. But a lot of us will be represented at MagicCon Amsterdam. We'll probably be wearing these shirts. So if you want to talk to me or my coworkers, or even try and sling some spells with me in EDH, feel free to do so. We are there just to talk to you, to reach out to you, to hear from you. And I'm very excited about that.
Kai, where
That's
can
cool.
we see you again, or what is your next steps where we can see a booth from your art?
So so it's gonna be a little busy this summer, I think. I'll be at various Magic events. I'm gonna pass, unfortunately, on the MagicCon Amsterdam. It was really like 50-50, and I almost had it like done, but there were a couple of factors that just didn't fit this time. But I will probably be at the next MagicCon or so. But I'll be at several European events, like middle-sized events, a couple of hundred people here and there in France, Spain, Italy, Impact Returns, Four Seasons Bologna. And I will also be at American events for the very first time in my life. I'm super excited about it. It will all happen in August, and I'll be attending 2 Magic events, one in Columbus and one in Madison. Super stoked to do that. But other than that, yeah, you can find me on social media. It's Savatarix on Twitter and Instagram, mostly, on Discord, of course, and then savatarix.com, where you can get all your swaggy tokens, Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, Dan, you already said what you're doing next or at the moment, but where we can find you beside the Pro Tour, where you will be in Amsterdam, right?
Yes, I will be in Amsterdam. I will be at the Pro Tour only for Friday, and on Saturday I will be judging at the normal ticketed play area where all of the non-Pro Tour events are happening. And on Sunday, I'm actually not there to judge, so you might just find me strolling around some artist booths or challenging Robert to a commander game or something like that.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
That should be a great moment to bring it all together and say, hey, let's do the trading card lobby commander game. Yeah, and then Nadine will bring Nekusa or something like that and kill the whole table in 2 or 3
I was
turns.
about to say, any Rule Zero discussions or how is
Yeah, I don't have good commander deck.
Well-
Yeah, I will wrap this. Oh, so sorry, Dan. Sorry, I interrupt you.
You're good. Go ahead. I wanted to do that same thing.
Yeah, I want to wrap this up. So you can see me as well on all my projects like TCG-Home, Omega Zabatsu, Nerdy's Card Market Store. You can also ask me questions about how I get to 26K sales on Card Market. I'm doing so I'm doing many projects. You can find me at Full Metal Nerd 1986 on Instagram, Omega Zabatsu on Instagram, and a couple more things, and also on the Discord server of TCG-Home. Thank you very much. It was an absolutely great talk to everyone to have been here today. And I think we will meet all together again or on several events. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Kai. And thank you to the chat. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Yo, bye.
Bye.
You're
Bye.
around.